Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is Kiri Honey, host for Falling in Love Again Season 1. In this virtual event, you are discovering the secrets to great communication and renewed intimacy and affection. So, as parents, you can connect the way you did before the kids, even if it feels like it's too late. You will walk away feeling inspired and empowered to take the lead in your relationship, to feel supported to take action that feels aligned and authentic to your wants and needs, and on a practical level, help you focus on the key steps needed to rekindle the passion and fun in your partnership. Myself, along with this panel of fabulous speakers, are sharing fresh, new ways to amp up the passion so you can have the happy and fun relationship and family you've always wanted, without guilt or worry that things are going to fall apart. And let's not forget our daily free gifts. Hello, and welcome back to Falling in Love Again Season 1. Today, I'm excited to introduce Dr. Nikki Starr Noche, who is here to discuss self-love and sacred sexuality. But before we get into that, let's hear a little bit about her. Dr. Nikki Starr Noche is a medical doctor turned transformational life coach, spiritual teacher, and conscious relationship coach. After completing medical school, she realized the prescription for a healthy, happy life is conscious eating, self-care, and love as medicine. She has traveled the world, touching every continent except Antarctica by age 25, discovering alternative healing modalities with various medicine people, healers, and communities. This also caused her to awaken her own healing gifts, as she comes from a lineage of Colombian healers. In 2014, she appeared on the Fox reality show Utopia, where they named her #Dr. Love for her views of human connection. Today, she is based in Malibu, where she works with people worldwide via her online programs and retreats to support others in living their ultimate life. Hey, Nikki, and welcome to Falling in Love Again Season 1. I am so excited to have you here to share your wisdom with us all.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty, would you mind telling our audience where you are and what you're grateful for today?
So right now I am in my Malibu beach home, and I'm so grateful for this view of the ocean and how the sun shines and sparkles against the ocean and how I can see out to the horizon, and it's just so mesmerizing.
Sounds stunning.
It is.
Yeah. Now, can you explain for our audience, because we are talking about self-love and sacred sexuality, what is sacred sexuality?
So I believe that sacred sexuality is using sex for our healing, evolution, growth, and awakening our highest potential. It can be such a healing, transformational act. And it's all about the practices, the intentions, how we do it with ourselves as well as with another.
Yeah. So how can our audience really tap into that?
Sure. So our sexual energy is 85% of our life force. It's such an engine. It's so powerful when we know how to harness it and move it throughout the body. So the sexual energy center is just one energy center of the body. And we have 7 to 8 main ones, depending on which lineage you were to study. And we also have smaller ones throughout the body. And just like we have a nervous system, we have an energy network throughout the body. So the reason why sexual energy is so healing is because of the pleasure, the high pleasure that it creates in the body. And also because it's so potent and powerful that it can clear obstacles and any contractions in the body. So oftentimes, sex was shamed in people's reality, whether it was because of religion or because of conservative families or because society. And there's actually a lot of healing to do around sexuality because of these things that were programmed into people. And now that we're in this new age of spiritual awakening, we have an opportunity to work with it as a healing energy. So the way you can do it even right now is through your intention. So let's say if you were doing a self-pleasure practice, it's actually, and same thing in Tantra. Tantra is not, it's not about the orgasm. It's not about the finish. It's about the whole process. And the way we move energy is with our intention and our awareness. So if you were to decide to do a self-pleasure practice and set the intention that your sexual healing energy move throughout your body to clear away any obstacles, to heal any places that you might be feeling tightness, tension, or dis-ease, while you are stimulating yourself and feeling that pleasure, the typical tendency for people who are not doing sacred sexuality or sexual healing is to kind of contract and keep it in the lower sexual energy center. So then you have that orgasm, Yeah. And the idea of this is actually to move the energy throughout your body and relax as much as possible. Because when we are relaxed, it actually allows energy to flow through the body. So whenever there's a contraction, this prevents energy from going to that place. So with the use of the breath is very important and a powerful part of this healing process. You can use your inhale and really breathing deeply into your belly, breathing into the places that feel tight, and really bringing that energy to those places. And then as you exhale, really allowing yourself to feel a release. And you continue to breathe deeply, open the body, move the energy of pleasure throughout your body, even doing a whole sweep of the body where you move it down to your toes, you move it up into your torso, across your arms, down to your fingers, you move it up into your head. And you can just do it intuitively based on where you may feel areas that need healing. And then there's the more traditional energy pathways that are taught in Tantra. But for beginners, I like to just say, let's make it really easy and just allow yourself that time of relaxation, that movement of pleasure, the movement of the breath. And you may even find that you have such a different orgasm that is something you haven't even experienced anymore before. And that's way more pleasurable than something you've ever experienced.
Well, that sounds quite good.
Yes, it is quite good.
I love the sound of it, Nikki. Now tell me, so some of our audience might not be in a place where they are feeling into that just yet. We've just had kids and there's not that connection. We're waiting to actually want to get into that space again. So how can we help our audience first step into that, I guess, wanting to venture into that sexuality side of things?
Yeah. So I think it's so important that we turn ourselves on. We don't even need a partner, but we as ourselves turn ourselves on. And one of the things I recommend to clients, excuse me.
Bless you.
So one of the things I recommend to clients is to really start to treat yourself like a lover. So have a date night with yourself, get dressed up, put on music that you love and start to dance. Give yourself self-massage. So really wining and dining yourself, but not necessarily with wine, but just with treating yourself the way you would want a lover to treat you. So it's almost like you are trying to woo yourself.
Yeah.
And through that wooing, maybe you take a hot bath and really igniting the senses. So, a warm bath feels so good, and you can have bubbles and you can have essential oils, and then you can have some body oil. And while you're in the bath, just in the warmth and the goodness, you can just massage your own feet or massage your thighs. And then from there, you can, if you feel called and you feel let me see what this feels like. And then you can go to those places. But it's the same thing, just like if you're with a lover, you wouldn't just want your lover to enter you without any foreplay. Yeah, so it's the same. How can you be your own best lover? How can you turn yourself on? Sometimes it can just be from turning on music that you really love, that really gets your hips going. Because when we move our hips, we start to awaken our sexual energy in that energy center. So I would say whatever turns you on, whatever would make you relax, whatever would make you feel pleasure is a great entryway.
Yeah. So often with our audience, for mothers that are in the group, like ourselves become the very last like point of, contact or the last thing that we think about. So it's really important that we remember that we are actually the most important one. And in order for the rest of our family and the rest of our connections to excel, we need to excel ourselves. So that's a really good reminder to take some time to figure out what you love and what lights you up. Can you tell us what you think the secrets are to great communication and deeper connection?
With yourself or with others?
Maybe both.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So with some of what you were alluding to, I was also feeling like, firstly, like you were saying, like we often put ourselves last as caretakers. Like, it's a thing that women often do because we're such givers and we just love everyone and we want to give. And when I work with women, it's like the first thing I share about is really like how we take care of ourselves actually helps to take care of our family and our children, our clients, and all those around us. And why? So that we can come overflowing and give from that place. Because if we're giving from a place of depletion, that it doesn't serve anyone. We feel badly. We bring that energy to the space. It doesn't go as good as it can. So it's never selfish to take time for self-care. It is only going to enhance your relationship with yourself and your relationship with others. Because if we're bringing any seed of resentment or fatigue or feeling like anything other than really wanting to be there 100% because we're tired or we need to eat and we're hungry, etc., it's actually a disservice to everyone around us. So
yeah, exactly.
Something to drop in. But in terms of communication, what I have found, just like I do feel that honesty is the best policy, but coming from a place where there's an intention and a solution that would create a better situation. So for example, let's say I actually had a situation happen today with a dear friend who was also once a lover, and we're just now really good friends. And we always wonder, like, maybe we'll get back someday or something, but now we're really just in the space of friends. And I like to use real life examples where when I moved to my Malibu beach home, he said to me like, oh, do you need help to move? And I said, yeah, that would be amazing. And then when I said, yeah, I would love help in this way, then he said, oh, maybe you should hire someone. And I was like, huh.
Okay.
So I didn't say anything in the moment. And this is my first tip is whenever it is most triggered in your body or you feel emotional about it, it's not the best time to communicate.
Yeah.
It's actually a good idea to take a little space and just get clear with yourself. Like, let's say if it's even a situation about yourself, like something happened and you're not even quite sure how you feel about it. So taking that time to process with yourself is key first, because you need to understand, like, what is it that you want to ask for to yourself or to someone else? So getting clear on like what happens, like what would you want to see differently? How can it be prevented in the future? So you kind of just like sit with it. And then I always like to start communication with like, so for example, in this case, I was like, I really love our friendship and our connection so much. And you're just such an important person to me in my life. So I start with like all the things that I love about us. And then from there, then I share what happened, and I also share my intention. I say, like, I really want to continue for our relationship to grow and get even better. So I've been sitting with something that I want to share with you. And then I said, and I just state the facts, when you asked me to help me move, that was so wonderful. Like, it was such a wonderful surprise. And I was so happy. And I really did need the help. And then when I suggested a plan, you replied, well, maybe you should hire someone. And for me, that was a little upsetting because I did need help and I did find someone else and you never followed up. And in the future, what I would love is if you don't want to do something, just don't even bother like offering. Better to not offer and to keep integrity, because integrity is really important to me, than to like offer something and then not show up for it. And I think that would just be such a great thing if you could do that for me. Like, I would greatly appreciate it. And I feel like it would enhance our relationship. So I went there like not triggered. I already knew what I was asking for. I had an outcome of what I wanted. And I think this kind of communication that like, because it's not like saying, like, it's just saying like, hey, can just next time this would be appreciated. And I think that has always been a beautiful way that relationships with my friends have continued to blossom, because I do communicate even about the things that might be challenging.
Yeah, I think that's a really great tip. How you bring it back to how it affects you. And so how it made you feel, rather than pointing the finger at them and saying, this is what you did, this was not okay. But it's
more saying like, this is what I need in the relationship, right? So you're just speaking about yourself and what your needs are. And I think that that's really key, because even when it comes to sexuality and intimacy, when women are not communicating their truth and processing with their partner, this creates like bricks in the yoni. Like, it creates blockages to greater sexual pleasure, because women need to feel trust to open sexually. And if you're not communicating with your partner, then this can create obstacles in the bedroom too, because it's an unconscious thing that's happening. Because also the voice and like the cervix are connected from an energetic perspective.
Oh, yeah. I definitely found that there were a lot of assumptions maybe that are made if you're not fully communicating things, or maybe there's expectations like, for example, my husband and I have been together for 12 years now, and it's easy to fall into things like, you should know that by now, or something like that, making those kinds of assumptions. But just openly communicating all the things is pretty important.
Yeah, for sure. And I also think that some moments communication can happen more like verbal processing. And then there's also other kinds of communication that can happen in real time. Like, if you don't like something, you might just like, ooh, but if you like something, you might be like, like, so you can be more like guttural. And this is even connected a little bit to David Data's work, which I really love his work, and how to keep like relationships really juicy and passionate. And sometimes if we over talk about things, it can get really cerebral. So there's other ways, like in the moment, to be able to communicate with our partners to show like, this I like, this I don't like, but it's more like with our body language and our expression in more of like an animalistic way.
So tell me more about that, and how we can keep things juicy and amp up the passion.
Yeah. So this is a topic when I work with couples a lot that I often like to remind them, because even a lot of couples I work with will have a tendency to maybe even work together. So much of their life is enmeshed. So there's kind of like three dynamics that you can exist in with your partner. And for the sake, I'm going to use the term masculine and feminine, but it can be for like same-sex partners too. It's just whoever identifies as masculine would be the male, and then whoever identifies as feminine would be the female in this situation, just to make it easy. But it works for all kinds of relationships. So let's say when things are the juiciest between you and your partner, it's when one is embodying the feminine and one is embodying the masculine. So the masculine is generally the one that's taking leadership, that is directing, the boss, and so more, and the feminine is more surrendered and receiving, right? And just like our genitals are shaped in this way too, right? Like the penis points outward and the vagina receives the penis, it's like, this is just even biologically the more typical roles that are taken on. When both people are in their boss, so both people are, let's say if you do have a business together, when both of you are operating in the masculine, that's very helpful because the masculine is about time, it's about execution, it's about getting things done. So even as women, we have a masculine within us that helps us get ourselves, like, the boss lady within us is the masculine part of ourselves, And then so there's no sexual polarity. When two people are showing up like the boss, it's, if anything, it could be like a bullfight because like, who's going to get the power? There could even be a power struggle when both people are trying to show up in the masculine. And then when both are in the feminine, it's kind of like having best friends where you might cuddle up on the couch and have ice cream together and giggly, but it might not be so much like juicy, and wanting to really like get it on. So it is important to compartmentalize the moments. So for example, one thing I do talk about with clients is where if they do have like a business or they're doing a lot of like managing, even if it's managing the kids or whatever, to have certain places in the house where they put those hats on. So it's like the kitchen or the office.
Yeah.
So but not in the bedroom. Like the bedroom is only for sex and sleep and connecting in the masculine and the feminine way. And then, maybe the couch is the more cuddly friendship, that kind of way. But if not, if you start blurring the lines, then it kind of kills the passion of the relationship. So for example, I always recommend having date night where that's like when you're in your roles of getting like your passionate roles. So you're one's in masculine and one's in feminine. And it is important that each person that is playing the same game. So let's say with you and your husband, like if it's date night, then you're really leaning back and receiving and allowing him to take charge and really be the masculine. So you might want to direct a moment, but instead you lean back and open space for him to do so. And then vice versa, that he know. And also as a woman, most women are doing personal development and not men. So you could still polarize your partner to be more masculine by like leaning back and being more feminine than him. And a lot of these principles too are like David Data principles. And I really love his work a lot because he really teaches it like it's a science. And I really agree. And if you really work with these energetics, you actually realize you can fall in love with anyone. Because it's literally like it's like magnets. When one is operating as the plus and one is as the minus, it's like, boom, you just go together. Yeah. And I've seen it happen time and time again.
Cool. That sounds really powerful.
Yeah. And it's also like a game. Like you can even set like another fun is you can do something called like a polarity practice where you can make a playlist for like 30 minutes and there's no talking. And you really both embody, it's almost like play between the masculine and the feminine. So with whatever is present in the space, like really doing your best to keep eye contact and really allowing the bodies and the energies to kind of interact with each other without any talking.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds really powerful.
Yeah,
I'll definitely take notes for
it's
our next date night.
Yeah, and it's like a 2-person meditation, to be honest. Normally you go and you sit in silence and you meditate. When you're entering into like a partnership where you're wanting more sacred sexuality, it's about how connected you can be to each other. So when you take this time, that's not even like, even if there's no sexual penetration that happens, and you're just operating from the energetic space and you're really embodying masculine and feminine and moving with each other and eye gazing and really being so present, that is also a form of a meditation because you're concentrating on being present with your partner, and true meditation is a concentration practice. So it's a way to show up more present with your partner, and then you take that with you by being more present in your life.
Yeah. What tips do you have for those who want to have this connection, but are not sure how to find it again?
So I guess it would depend on if someone's already in a relationship or not in a relationship.
Yeah. So these would be people who are in a relationship, and they've got kids, and they're kind of just living life kind of next to each other, rather than really feeling connected and, partnered.
Yeah. So I would say the first step is planning date night once a week that is non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that on date night, you're going to have sex, you're going to engage in some kind of activity. And sometimes I even recommending, and you get a babysitter for that night or day, like it can be a night or a day thing, or whether they go to the grandparents' house or whatever. But this idea that you, just like any priority in life, you make the relationship and connecting a priority.
Yeah.
And during that time, cell phones are not allowed. And the idea is you take turns planning the date.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, the idea too is to try new things, because studies have even shown that when two people experience an adrenaline or some kind of adventurous experience together, that the adrenaline that increases in the body, it feels actually like you're falling in love. So when you have new experiences together, it's kind of similar, and you start to see each other in a new light again. Yeah. Instead of the same, what are we doing about dinner? What's going on with the kids? And so that kind of talk is off limits, during your date night. And I also really like to have a gratitude practice where you share 3 things you're really grateful for about each other and why. And you can do that on your date night too, have a moment where it's you think about the week and or just about them, and you remind them why you love them so much.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Because everyone has different love languages, but everyone loves to hear nice things about themselves, because you feel appreciated again, you feel loved by your partner, you feel seen by your partner. And oftentimes what you're sharing about just existing next to each other, raising kids, of course, children take up so much time and energy, as they should. And sometimes the relationship gets put on the back burner, but really everything can happen. You can have a thriving relationship while you're raising kids too. Both are possible.
Yes, absolutely.
Dedicated time and really planning something new. And then also knowing that sexy time is going to happen that night as well, or that day, in the frame of when they're with the babysitter. Yeah. So I would say a healthy rhythm would be a minimum of once a week to have sex. More is definitely better. Or at least some kind of sexual engagement where both people are receiving.
Yeah. I 100% agree that date nights are key. And I really love your point of 3 things that you're grateful for the other person, because it's so easy to take those things for granted or forget to recognize them for those things. And it makes such a big difference to just, feeling loved, appreciated, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And also it's what you're grateful for and why you're grateful for that. So for example, let's say your husband fixed the cabinet or something. Mm-hmm. Be I'm really grateful that you fixed the cabinet because it makes me feel really supported by you, and it makes me feel like you really take care of the family. So it's you say why, because that's actually where the gem is, in the why.
Yes. Yes. Good point.
Because especially for men too, like that deeper meaning helps them see it's not just about taking out the trash. It's about like you feeling supported because men love to provide and support.
Yes.
So when they feel like they're fulfilling their role, they don't even realize like, oh, wow, that makes them feel supported.
Yeah. And it comes back to that great communication and how how the other person's actions or behaviors affects you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
really, really important. Um, Thank you for that. I have one more quick question. You talk about in your work that you believe that love and connection is all that truly matters, and that we need to release feelings of victimhood and what no longer serves us. Can you give us any tips on how we can release some of these feelings?
Sure. So part of that process is forgiveness.
Mm,
So whenever we are in a victim space, it's because we feel like something has happened to us. Like that person did this thing to me and I'm so angry and I'm holding on to this resentment with as if it's like a prideful thing to do. But the truth is it's poison inside of our body that creates distance and separation.
mm,
Now, of course, it can happen that there could be events that someone did that is not right. Like they could have lied, they could have cheated, they could have did all these different things. But it's important to remember that everyone is doing their best in every moment.
mhm.
And if they did that, like you don't have to be with that person or you don't have to have that person as your friend still, but you can forgive them for what they did, knowing that they did the best that they could and that okay, that doesn't work for me in my relationship. But by you holding anger towards that person, it's like they still hold a piece of power, of your power. They're holding on to it because they have power over you if they can make you so angry like that.
Mhm.
So this anger that you then harbor prevents you from loving and connecting with someone else because you might then think that, oh, this is going to happen to me again. This friendship, it happened to me in my last friendship. It's going to, like, whatever we hold from past relationships, we perpetuate forward if we don't heal and forgive and do the work and see, like, what part of ourselves was available for that to happen in our lives.
Yes.
So I believe that primary to enhancing love and connection to our lives is our personal healing and transformational journey, which includes forgiveness for because everyone has things that has happened to them.
Yep.
Everyone. And everyone has had a moment where they felt a trauma in their childhood. Everyone.
Mhm.
It's the human experience. It's how we take those experiences and heal from them and learn from them and make different choices from them so that we're not victims, but rather we're creators of our reality. And we allow those moments to be lessons. So it's definitely a perception shift. And I do feel that it's also forgiveness and healing.
Yeah. So it all comes back to dealing with the issues within ourselves, and the personal healing journey and how that affects our outer relationships.
Yes, because everything's a mirror.
Yeah.
So whatever
Yeah.
we're experiencing on the inside, we're going to experience on the outside.
Yeah. That's a really good way to view that. Thank you. Now, just to wrap up, so for our listeners who want to stay in touch with you, I know you have an incredible free gift. Can you share what that is for us, please?
Yes, I have. You know what? I'm feeling called to share two of them. I didn't realize I was going to because I didn't realize the predominant audience would be female as well. So I have two. One is Awaken Your Spiritual Power guidebook. And this guidebook is literally tied to the last question that we just talked about.
Yeah.
This guidebook shares different ways to perceive reality that help us to reclaim our power from situations that may have happened. And I share 5 spiritual laws that can help you to rewrite some of these challenges you may have faced in the past, from feeling like a victim or not feeling love, or any challenges that have happened in relationship. And the second one I want to share is a free training called Ultimate Woman Uprising. And this is for the ladies. So if men are listening to, this one's just for the ladies. And I truly believe that women, the matriarchs, we're on the rise. We're here to create the new earth. And in it, I share a 5-step process that supports you in rising to your next level now, and the things that you can do now for yourself. So it's like a training and a healing process. And I think both are so powerful and complementary to each other.
They both sound amazing. I'll likely grab them myself. So the last quick thing, thank you for those gifts. Before we say goodbye, I have 3 quick fire questions for you to share with our audience. First, what's your favorite date night idea?
I love nature time, like walking on the beach at sunset, going to a park and having a picnic, because nature has such healing energies that you feel so good when you're in nature.
Yeah.
So when you bring your partner to nature, you're going to both feel good because it's a naturally healing environment.
Yep. Sounds great to me. The next question, what's your favorite way to bring fun into your life?
Fun into my life is always connected to music and dancing. So whether I'm driving in a car or I'm on the beach or even just home and I have a moment and I want to like bring fun energy, I just put on a song I love and I just start dancing.
Yeah. It does definitely quickly change your energy, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last question for you, what do you think is the biggest mistake people make in their relationships?
I think the biggest mistake people make in relationships is keeping things to themselves and pretending like everything is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way we deepen in relationship is through communication and sharing our heart. And I feel that I've always gotten closer in all of my relationships when I actually shared a thing that was present for me versus kept keeping it inside with the lid on.
Yes.
So communication.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Nikki, for being our special guest today. It was so fun chatting with you and learning all those little snippets of gold nuggets that you had to share. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in today. More sessions will be delivered to your inbox tomorrow. Remember, unless you're a VIP, you will only have access to this interview for the next 7 days. I look forward to joining you in our next session tomorrow. And don't forget to grab your free gift. Thanks again, Nikki. And until next time, may your coffee be hot, your family be happy, and your relationship be fulfilling and fun.